Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again for this month's presentation. Um, I am Jeff Boccaccio, one of the directors at the STA, and on the executive board. Tonight, many of you will recognize, we're pleased to welcome Tom Hicks,
Hello.
co-founder of IFTM Capital. It's a systematic trading firm specializing in technical analysis. Tom's been going for a while with all of this, 20 years experience in financial markets. He's been a fixed income and options trader. He's worked as a Big Four consultant. He's worked with a lot of the big banks and asset managers, and he's got a deep understanding of trading and market structure and regulatory frameworks these days. He is also, of course, been the chairman of the society for several years, and he sat on IFTA as well. So yeah, he is no stranger to this. And in fact, when I first joined the board, Tom was chairman, and he was doing the job that I'm doing now, introducing and organizing all the speakers. So yeah, I learned from the best. Um, Now, many of you may know, from the STA diploma, Tom has been one of the teachers on that, one of the lecturers on the systematic trading and the psychology of trading section on there. And there is a new course coming out shortly that Tom's going to tell us a bit more about called From Charts to Strategies, starting on, I think it's the 7th of April. So it's coming up in the next, yeah, what is that, 4 weeks or so?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And so tonight's session is going to give you a great flavor of the kind of thing that the course is going to be about. And Tom's going to share some practical insights from his own experience there, I'm sure. So as usual, we'll kind of like wrap with some Q&A at the end, and please use the Q&A box on Zoom if you can. It's just easier for us to manage. And I'll integrate those questions and we'll have a little back and forth with Tom afterwards. But he's going to share some slides with us and give us a little brief overview on all of this stuff. So with that, I'll hand over to Tom Hicks to begin. Take it away, Tom.
Br- Brilliant. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks very much for the intro there.
Yeah.
Let me just share the slides. Hang on 1 second. So yeah, I think probably most of you know me. I've been involved in trading and technical analysis and also systematic trading for over 20 years now. And I think if you could just go to the next slide, please, Katie. So just to sort of give you, I suppose, a bit of a background to how this course came about and why we've put it together. We obviously had the part one and the part two, which are great courses. They really teach you how to use all the different techniques of technical analysis, and then with those techniques, obviously, there's a bit about risk management in that course. However, I think the thing I felt personally was that it doesn't really sort of bring them together into how you can actually combine them and actually produce a trading strategy, and then how do you actually go about then trading that. So when I was chairman, we sort of talked a lot about this course, but it never really sort of materialized. But we've now got there's three of us, myself, two other excellent speakers who I'll introduce as we go through the deck. But we've managed to put together this course now, which really I think sort of brings together that missing piece really, to be able to take those technical analysis techniques that you've learned from the part one and part two and really combine them into something which you can trade and into a system which is repeatable. So I think most people realize that a lot of retail traders fail. I think the numbers that are banded about are 70 to 80%. So I think most people are sort of aware of that, especially with spread betting. So I think really sort of the question is, why does this happen? If we've learned all these techniques, we should really know what we're doing. But I think the problem is a lot of traders, you have the knowledge and you'll get that knowledge from doing the part one and part two, obviously, of the STA, but you struggle to actually, a lot of people struggle to put that together into an actual structured process. And how do you test to see if there's actually an edge on those techniques that you've learned and actually see if it works or not? I think the psychological challenges are something that's obviously been around for many years. I've quoted here 50 years, but I think the classic story is about Isaac Newton. So while he wasn't sitting under a tree with apples falling on him, he was actually doing quite a lot of punting in the market. And the story goes that in 1719, I think it was, he bought some stocks in the South Sea Company. And obviously there was a bubble, so the price went up at that point. But he got in very early and he made a profit of about £7,000, which in today's money would be a few million. So it was quite a decent sum of money. However, over the next year, the price really accelerated, and he basically got what a lot of us still have today, a bit of FOMO, so fear of missing out. And he then got involved right at the top, and you can guess what happened. He ended up losing a lot more than 7,000. I think he was down about 20,000 in the end, which was a massive amount of money back in those days. And a very famous quote he came out with is, he can calculate the motions of heavenly bodies, but he can't calculate or understand the madness of people. So I think that just illustrates the point that, we can be very clever, we can understand these techniques, but actually putting them together into a system can be quite hard to do. And really nothing's changed over, I mean, that was 300 years ago, so nothing's changed. If we look at what's happened recently, we had Bitcoin making new highs and then that's crashed. So plenty of people probably got involved with FOMO at the top of that. I think it was 126,000 back in October last year. And then in January again with silver, we've just had, a similar thing, everyone getting involved, probably to, just a bit too late maybe. It topped at, 122. And then obviously it's pulled back quite a lot now. So things like FOMO, not taking profit on those trades, but also not taking losses and holding it and watching it come all the way back. So these things really have just been around for many years. People are still making the same mistakes all the time. And I think a lot of people sort of fall into this kind of pattern, and I know I did as well, where you start, you try out different techniques, then it doesn't work, so you stop, you look for other techniques, that doesn't quite work, you stop doing that. And it's kind of this stop-start cycle without really having a proper framework in place to understand, what you're doing wrong. Is there an edge there, and why is it not working? So, we're looking to really address that on this course. And the course really has a proven framework. So there's three key parts to the course. The first one, which fits into what I was just talking about, the psychology, which is extremely important. And I think maybe a lot of people think that just because you're doing something systematic, there's no psychology to it. But obviously, if you get a bunch of losers in a row, how do you know when to turn the system off, when to leave it, and what to do with it? And also, you can have a lot of potentially a lot of like losers in a row. So how do you deal with that and actually let the system keep running and let the edge play out? Just to point out as well, this whole course isn't just about systematic trading. It's a lot broader than that, and it also includes discretionary trading. So we're talking also about how you deal with the emotions of that and actually come up with a plan and a structure and handle the psychological elements of that. The second part is really key, and that's actually having a structured trading plan. So we go really into depth on this, and it's about treating trading as a business. It's not a kind of a casino thing. It's not something we're trying to have a bit of fun with or get some excitement from. We've really got to treat it as a proper business, have a business plan, and really understand what we're trying to do. And that just sort of comes really to having a framework in place so we can see what we're doing, evaluate it, and then improve from that. Lastly, the trading system, obviously. So this course, we actually go through quite a few different strategies. We go quite in depth. We also do quite a lot of testing, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a flavor of some of the testing we've done. And we look at different systems. We look at high win rates versus payoff. So look at how that changes when you trade different types of systems. And also obviously trend following versus mean reversion. So we look at all these different types of systems. So I think that's very interesting, how we've gone about doing that. And obviously probably the most important thing, testing to see if the system actually has an edge and it's actually worth trading in the first place. So we go through quite a detailed methodology about how to establish that, and then go forward and put that plan together and trade the system. So those are the three pillars of the course. I think obviously we're trying to get to being a structured trader, and I haven't put in here systematic trader because we are also including those systems where is it discretionary, or maybe it's kind of a mixture of systematic and a bit of discretion as well. So it's really about being a structured trader. It might be quite interesting just to have a quick hands up kind of, are people on the call an indicator collector? So that's someone who's constantly searching for the right signal, changing strategies, you keep looking at one different indicator, does that work? And then it's not working for you, so you then go to another one and you keep chopping and changing with different indicators rather than actually sticking with something and actually sort of running through a framework to see whether it really works or not. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone on the call is what we class an indicator collector. The other one is a strategy hopper. So that's putting together a strategy with a load of different indicators, but then not really running it enough to see the edge finally play out. So the point being, you could have, your system says, okay, maybe it's correct 50% of the time, but you might not get that 50% all at once. You might get a lot of losers before it plays out. So stop, not trading that system enough to see the edge come through. And obviously we're trying to get towards, the whole course is really trying to teach you how to go from those to being obviously more structured. So yeah, the goal of the course is to help traders on this journey to being the third category of being a structured trader. And so I don't know if have we got anyone in the chat? Maybe everyone is a structured trader already. I don't think so, but cool. Okay. So you've had the introduction to myself. We've also got Malcolm Pryor doing quite a few of the early lectures as well. So he's a private trader. He's written a number of books on spread betting, and he was also actually a graduate of the Van Tharp's Super Trader program. So he's brought a lot of the elements he's learned from all of that into the course, and he really is a wealth of knowledge. So I think the parts he's done are really comprehensive and very, very interesting, and will definitely help along your journey. So we've got Malcolm on the course, and then we've also got Stephen as well. So he's done a lot of algorithmic trading, particularly he's got a book out which is excellent around Renko charts, and he's actually running a turtle type experiment at the moment on Renko. So that's very interesting what he's doing there, and he also has his own hedge fund. So he's obviously very very well versed on algorithmic and systematic trading. So I think between the three of us, I think you've got some great experience there, a real wealth of knowledge, and I think really it's a very comprehensive course that we've put together. If we can go to the next slide, please, Katie. So I've got here, I put together a slide kind of, I think, for each one of the lectures. And I wanted to just give a quick flavor of what that looks like as well, just to give you a kind of an idea what to expect. So the first lecture is all about the traders framework. So this really is sort of setting the scene out, talking about the components of a strategy, how to set up entries and exits. Talks about the position sizing, risk management, and so on. And I think one thing that's quite good about this course, which is different to maybe a lot of the other courses, is on each of the lectures you're going to get, or most of them, you're going to get some coursework to do. So you'll obviously listen to the lecture, but then there's actually some assessment or something to do which really reinforces that learning, because everyone's different. Everyone's got their own type of system which would work for them. And I think part of this is really about discovery of what works for you. So having this kind of coursework at the end of each or most of the sections really helps you to sort of progress and really develop your own self your own sort of systems. So that's the first lecture. I've just got a kind of a slide I've pulled out here just to give you a quick flavor. So this is just one slide where we're talking about the type of strategy to choose, which to obviously try and fit you. And I guess one of the points as well is it's just the third bullet point there. It's okay to work on a strategy, but then you find out it hasn't got an edge, and then you discard it, or it's something that doesn't suit your personality. So something that you just wouldn't be able to trade. For example, maybe you're more a kind of a shorter term focus type trader. So trying to trade a long term system is just not going to suit your personality. So it's perfectly okay to discard things. And I think, this quite nicely sets out, what to look for, how to actually kind of choose that strategy. And the point is, you've learned all those techniques, but how do you take them and actually combine them into something which suits your personality? And how do you then develop that, look at the edge, see if it works, and then move forward with it to actually trading it? So that's the first lecture. The second part is really quite interesting because we've gone quite in depth into quite a lot of different strategies on this, and actually looked at multiple markets as well. We've gone and looked at it obviously on the S&P to kind of give a view on the equities. We looked at gold. We looked at some cryptos. So we looked at Bitcoin and Ethereum, and also a bit of FX, so some euro dollar as well. I think what's interesting about this is we've taken strategies which we know work, but we haven't actually changed, we haven't optimized them or changed anything. So really, the charts we're showing are pretty much out of sample tests of how these perform or have performed recently over the last 10 years. So it's quite an interesting lecture just to see how things are working really, and also just to understand the how the edge works, and also how do you go about calculating that edge and actually proving that the system it has an edge or it doesn't have an edge, but you can actually prove it. So we go through quite in depth on this to explain that. I've got a flavour of a couple of the slides, and one thing we've come up with is something I'm calling the pi scale. And I kind of got the idea from looking at a pie in Sainsbury's, which is on the left there actually. So we're trying to apply the nutritional contents of a pie to strategy assessment. And the idea here is a lot of, if you read a lot of the different books, everyone tries to pick on a single indicator, a single number like the Sharpe ratio or Sortino or something like that. But I think what's quite nice is actually looking at a few different measures gives you a much better idea of what the strategy is, how it actually behaves. And what I mean by that is we look at the percentage of the winners. So if you've got a strategy like this one here, it's only correct, or it's only right 32% of the time. Would you actually be able to trade that? It's going to be quite hard if most of the time you're wrong. So you've got to understand that it's going to lose a lot, and maybe there's a threshold, where you can sort of handle the psychological aspects of that. And then obviously the payoff, so the amount you're going to get for every unit you risk. So I think those two obviously trade off, and it's quite interesting to see that on different strategies like trend following and mean reversion. Again, the drawdown is very interesting to look at on these. We've basically done these with doing an ATR normalized as well, so we can compare across all of them. We've then got expectancy, so is it likely to actually work in the future? And then we've taken the SQN, so the system quality number from Van Vaart's excellent book, and that just gives an overall kind of view of the different systems that we're looking at. So it's quite a sort of an interesting idea, but it's also just showing how these vary across different systems. I'm going to share with you one of them, which we go through. So this is the next chart shows an actual. So this is actually out of sample, which is quite incredible, really, because it's worked very well, especially over the last 10 years. And you can see here it's got a high percentage of winners, so that's quite nice. The payoffs actually, not too bad. For every unit you risk, you make 2.1, and it's not got too bad a drawdown. So this is something that actually works, pretty well even today. So lecture 2 is very interesting. Goes through the edges, and then we're going to apply that to lots of different types of systems, really do a comprehensive look at them, and also look across different markets. So it's a really interesting lecture number 2. If we go forward to number 3, so now we've looked at a lot of different strategies. This really pulls it all together and really goes into depth around them. Also talking a lot more about the exits, because we've obviously now established whether an indicator actually has an edge and it's working. But this goes through to look at how you then pull everything together, and then obviously, you really sort of, come up with a strategy. You've got an edge that works, and then how do you put that together? Again, similar to the previous, the first lecture, we've got some coursework on this one as well. And this is very specific to yourself, really. So you're going to go through and look at what time frames suit you, and then build an actual outline trading strategy, and then go through the steps and see how to do that and put it all together. So I think that's very valuable, that kind of coursework piece. And obviously I'll come to the feedback bit in a bit, but there will be some feedback in the last lecture. So that's lecture 3. I've just got a quick slide just to sort of give a quick flavour. So here we're looking quite in detail of trend following. So pullbacks into trend strategy is the specific slide. So talking about the sort of the pullback, the definition of a pullback, and then how you apply that and how you add stops to it. Maybe giving an initial target, but how you really develop it, and then take that entry and add on the exits to that type of strategy. So that's an example of that slide. Lecture 4. So we've really now sort of pulled everything together. And this one goes a lot more into the actual psychology of trading. And it's worth noting, I think I mentioned before, it's not, don't get scared off and think it's just about systematic trading. It's not. And this lecture really talks a lot about the discretionary side of trading, and how, if you are a discretionary trader, which is fine, how you actually build up a routine, how you incorporate a structured approach into what you're doing from a discretionary point of view, which I think is very, very useful, and very good to do. And just about how to do those records, how to really analyze what you're actually doing. And again, we've got some more coursework here, and it's really going through and looking at yourself a bit on this course as well, to see sort of what your records are like. And obviously with that, you can evaluate your performance and see what you're maybe doing wrong and what maybe you could improve. So this whole, it's kind of really a process looking through and then introducing this framework of how we can actually do that and improve the the strategies that we're trying to trade, and look at it as a business, really, rather than something on the side, or a kind of a gambling type thing or something like that. We actually want to look at it as a business. So that's lecture 4, and then just to give you a quick flavour of a slide from that. So it's really about the psychology, as I just said. So it's a lot more about self-analysis, and just talking about maybe what you can do in the morning to kind of get yourself in the right frame of mind before trading. So it mentions here meditation, trying to be sort of critical a bit, sort of more self-aware rather than just piling straight in, and just reacting to the market rather than actually being a bit more mindful and thinking about what you're doing. So yeah, it's trying to build this framework around how to actually establish a strategy and how to trade it. So that's the routine. So lecture 5 talks a bit more about the discretionary side of things, and then we go a bit more into the systematic side as well. So this is a bit more about the robustness. We talk about how to look at the different systems, future-proof them, and then talk about actually going live with systems as well, and how you deal with the psychological aspects and challenges once you go live with a system. Again, we've got a bit more coursework, and I think if we go to the next slide, this really pulls everything together. So here we sort of look at all the different aspects that you will have learned across the course, and then put it together and actually come up with a system for yourself, and incorporate these techniques into your own trading plan, your own routine, and your own process, which you then can obviously evaluate. So I think this is quite nice way to do, a nice thing to do on the course. And what I'm getting at by saying about all, talking about all the coursework is we've done something quite unique on this course, and that's when we get to lecture 6. So we're actually going to do a Q&A session. So this is going to be with the 3 of us who are teaching the course. And having done all this coursework along the process of going through the course, this is really going to offer that opportunity to, ask the questions about what your trading strategy is, and maybe sort of answer some of those problems that are holding you back, or not allowing you to really, have the confidence to trade really, and trade that system. So this is a panel discussion, and I think it's really going to be tailored completely around what questions we get through the course. And I think from doing that coursework, it's to kind of bring your own questions to it, and we'll tailor that around the individuals really. So I think that's quite unique to this course, rather than a lot of others. You don't really have that feedback. You don't have that kind of almost very, a group of people to be able to, give you advice and really help you along your journey. And that's what it is. It's really a journey to, improving. So that's a kind of an overview really of the course. I think if we go to the next slide, this sort of sums everything up. Yeah, I mean, the course really is, and we've called it Charts to Strategies. So, the clue's in the name really. But yeah, turning technical analysis into a structured, and I think structured is the key word there, trading process. And as I said, it's not just systematic trading, it's also discretionary trading. So it's really trying to cover, quite a broad spectrum of people, and really show how to, not just analyze markets, but actually take what you've learned, build that into a repeatable trading framework, which you can then use going forward, to actually trade and, actually have something that works. So I think, we talked in the past a lot about this course, and it's really exciting to see that, this is we finally put it together. But I think it really bridges the gap from that kind of part 1 and part 2 of the STA course, where you've learned all those techniques, you know now how to use them, but how do you take them? How do you prove there's an edge there? How do you then develop those and into a system which you can either trade on a systematic basis, or you can trade it on a discretionary basis? So so I think it's a very exciting course, and I hope hopefully you guys will sign up. Just to give you sort of an overview of when the course is. So I've talked about the different lectures there, the expert panel at the end, and those are the dates. So it's coming up quite soon in April. We have got a discount, which we've actually extended now. So we've extended it to the 25th of March. So it's 995 at the moment, but it will increase after that. But yeah, I think it's very. I mean, to be honest, I wish this course was around when I'd finished part 1 and part 2, because rather than having to figure it all out yourself, this course really gets you to that point of being able to test the edge and combine everything, and really get you a lot further along the journey to actually trading. So I'll pause there. Let's have a quick look to see if there's any questions.
Hey Tom, I can help out a little
Yep.
bit here.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no worries. No, thank you for giving us that overview, man. I'm really excited to see this course come into fruition, and I
Yeah.
love the structure that you guys have put together. Um, I was able to be part of some of the early conversations on how we were going to structure this whole idea, and I think it's one of the things that, you and I, Tom, have been talking about this for quite a number of years. So like seeing this
Quite a long
come.
time. Quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think you've actually hit it. You've hit the nail right on the head with the structure and the topics covered on this particular version. One thing that was asked was, who is it for? Like, is it for somebody who's kind of like beginning their journey, or should you be more experienced, or does it matter?
So I think it's for both, actually. If you're just starting out your journey, maybe you've done the part 1, part 2. this is perfect because it's the next step. Um, but I'd also say for people who are a bit more experienced, you know, do they actually have they been through? Do they have that framework at the moment? Are they consistently making money? And I think, I mean, if we're truthful to ourselves, probably quite a few people aren't really. Maybe they've learned the techniques, they've had a go. Similar to me, you have a go at it, it doesn't, kind of doesn't work. You stop for a bit, then you have a go at something else, and that kind of start stop. So, are you consistently profitable? Would be my answer to that. If you are, brilliant. Okay, you've got something that works. But if you're not, then this really is the kind of course that's going to help you along that journey, and that's where we want to get to. That's the idea.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think, even if you've been doing this for years, it's still like
Yeah,
to have a structured approach that's put together by the guys like yourself, like you
yeah.
and Malcolm and Stephen. Yeah, it's different when you just kind of take a step back and start to think about your process as opposed to maybe just sort of um, you can just sort of almost organically develop a process over time without sort of
Mm.
maybe fully thinking about the overall structured plan. So I think
Yeah, and also, how do you know your system has an edge anymore? That could have gone, or how do you know it even work? You could just be blindly trading it and say, oh yeah, how do you actually go and statistically look at that indicator or that strategy and see if you've got an edge or not? And we go through all of that in this course. So I think that's very valuable. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been asked quite a few times is like, or how do you know when to turn it off?
yeah.
And turn and work on the next one or have a couple of them going at the same time, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, a lot of people, maybe they find out about some strategy from wherever, from I don't know, YouTube or something. They'll maybe trade something, but they've got no idea about the characteristics. They don't understand what kind of drawdown it's going to have. They don't understand, you know, what the probability of trades being right is, and that all then feeds into the psychology element. You may just not be able to deal with losses. Maybe you need to trade something with a higher win rate. Just to be able to do it. So I think this course really introduces that and actually shows techniques which do work, and are working because all the tests have been out of sample, which is really interesting. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think until you're living through like a drawdown or a losing
yeah,
streak, unless you sort of already know the numbers, right? And you're like, okay, well, this is
yeah,
normal.
yeah.
This is within the bounds of normality. That doesn't mean it's more comfortable. It just means that at least yeah, okay, I should
It
expect
might,
this as opposed to
there's a good chance of it happening, but
right,
yeah,
right.
but it's not all kind of a rosy upward equity curve, really. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
do you do get drawdowns and clustered losses and so on. So but obviously we try and minimize that. But
Yeah. Andy's asking if there's a specific technology or like websites that you're going to be using for the practical side of the course, and do people need some sort of accounts or something set up in advance?
no, I mean, a lot of this is sort of less of a programming type course, because I think what we sort of figured is a lot of people nowadays can maybe do a bit of programming Python. I think you can maybe even get ChatGPT to help you a little bit. So the programming side, I think we've kind of decided really with this course to take a sort of step back from that really, and focus on actually let's get a system which works in the first place, right? And then you know assess that edge, put the system together, and then from that you can obviously code it. But we go through sort of, it's more really about building the system and finding something which works, and how you go around that process and how you deal with running it and the risks. So it's kind of really more focused on that, which is why I think it appeals to both people who maybe at the start of their journey, and equally people who are further along but maybe aren't consistently profitable at the moment. And I think this course can really help them.
Excellent. Is there a specific charting package or something that you guys are using, or does it just not matter at all?
We've used a couple different ones in the course. A lot of it, I've been just using some. I mean, some of the charts from some sections are from multi-charts, which could be TradeStation,
Mhm.
and then there's some other sources within it. But I think if you're using TradingView, it's all it's all the same. It's more about I suppose the concepts is what I'm trying to get at, as opposed to, you
Yeah.
know, going deep into some Python coding or, this is how you use this package. That's all stuff that can be learned. It's fine, but this is really sort of, I think, more important than that. It's really getting to the nuts and bolts of how to get that edge, assess you've got an edge, and how to kind of take it, get the system, and then and help you along that journey to being consistently profitable. Yeah.
Gotcha. Which I think that answers one of the other questions, which was, are we going to cover
Yeah.
how to program a bot or a trading system? Um, and so,
Yeah.
if I answer that one a little bit, like we did a course which was almost like the predecessor to this one, where
That's
we
right. Yeah.
did that was last year, where we did sort of include some of these sort of like simple ways of getting started with coding, and we covered a few different platforms on how to do that. The feedback that we got was that, okay, that's great, but it's a little bit too much for most people. And we wanted to make sure that this course was going to cover the actual sort of structure and to um, be the most practical and applicable to the most people who know charts, know technical analysis, and just want to take that and turn it into a trading system, right?
That's right. And I think the other point there as well is that course we had before was much more cater towards systematic traders,
Yeah.
whereas this course we've included discretionary trading as well. So there are quite big sections on discretionary trading, because you can do either, or you can even do a blend of them, right?
Mhm.
But if you haven't got the right framework in place, you're gonna find it hard to have those consistent profits at the end of the day. So so I think that to kind of cover both of those makes the course a lot broader and a lot more. I think it sort of caters to a lot more people's interests.
Great. And just for future reference, we do have some plans in the future to offer some more systematic stuff, with coding and that sort of thing. But that's a little bit down the line for us at this point. Jason's asking here, Tom.
Mm.
You're gonna love this one. Uh, no, Jason got quite a few in here. Jason, good to hear from
Oh,
you, man.
okay.
In your experience and your testing, like systems
Yeah.
testing, what are the best performing systems, please? And he's qualifying that to say that you're not going to be held accountable for that being advice or anything. But yeah, is there like a category of things that you've seen work well?
Um, there are a couple, but that's what we're covering in the course, really. So I think you saw that was an equity curve there I showed on one of the slides. And that's an actual out of sample equity curve from as one of the strategies. And you can see by the sort of, the pie scale, if you like, it's pretty tradable, really. So we do introduce, a couple of different strategies, well, more than a couple, there's a lot of different types of strategies, which we know are profitable. We know they work. So you can look at the scales and decide which one suits your personality. And I guess which one's best is for depends on your personality. Like
Yeah.
it could be something that's going to be right 90% of the time. It's likely that the payoff's going to be a lot lower than something that's right 40% of the time. That's going to have a much bigger payoff. So what is best, I guess, would be the question. But this really introduces all those different aspects of it. And we go through a lot of different markets as well. We've got some great strategies there looking on, the cryptos as well. So I think it's really interesting, and you're going to see some great equity curves in it, and they're on
So,
and they're out of sample, which I think is sort of quite impressive considering it's not
no,
we haven't
that's
optimized anything, or we're just taking what we know works, and it does. So, yeah,
yeah, no, that's fantastic. And yeah, out of sample, obviously best. I really like the idea of that pie scale, like being the
yeah.
like the nutritional value of the
The
system.
nutritional contents of a pie applied to structured trading or systematic trading. Yeah,
No, but it's nice because it brings like those
mm,
five metrics to all of the systems, and it really kind of gives you a
that's right.
flavor for what are you in for this one, right? Um, so yeah, I thought that was great. Um, okay, similar, you mentioned a couple different asset classes there. Jason was also asking, how can you apply these strategies across different markets and different time periods that might be necessary for different asset classes? So I think what he's getting at
Yeah.
here is that like some assets might need a different time frame, like for an exit signal or something like that.
Yeah, so we do talk about that. I mean, for simplicity, we've looked mainly at just the daily time frame, just to sort of look at these, different strategies. But obviously, if you're putting something together, maybe you've got a signal coming off a daily, and maybe then the exits on a lower time frame or something, So, but I think this is sort of taking the basis of some great strategies, and then from that, just proving there's edges, and then you can take that and then put it together as a system, and then that would be something you'd be testing. Oh, okay, on a daily, maybe it's the exit, you miss the exit, or it's too slow. So actually go down to a lower time frame, maybe like a 30-minute time frame, and try and take the exit there. But obviously that's what you then be testing with the system.
Cool. Another one just from Jason to sort of like keep the consistent track there. Um, I guess this is probably in your opinion, right? What are those when
Yeah.
you've got the nutritional label, the pie scale, what
Yep.
what are the key measurables for a system that works, like as far as you're concerned, aside from it just making money?
Well, I think that's what we've tried to include in the pie scale. So I think you saw some of the, um, the sort of the different elements we had of it, and I think one of the important ones is expectancy, obviously. So if a system's got negative expectancy, it doesn't matter how you package it up, it's going to lose really. It's very hard to turn a system with a negative expectancy into a winning system. And also on the scale, we've done some bands, so that it's kind of all color coded, if you like, from you know sort of red, amber, and green. But we've got bands on that, and what we've tried to do is actually sort of tailor that towards if the expectancy is very low, it doesn't have to be negative. It might be a very low number, but actually that system is going to be very hard to trade. Just from the psychological point of view. So yes, we try to include that, and also Van Tharp's system quality number, which I think is obviously taking the expectancy, dividing it by the square root standard deviation. So that's a very good measure to sort of look at it. And we've normalized. We've done it via like ATR, so we've normalized the volatility, so you can compare across all the systems as well. So I think that's quite a nice way of doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We've got a couple questions that have kind of come through about, I guess maybe the
Mm.
practical side of like the implementing the things from the course, right? So number one, can it work for someone in a full-time job?
Yep. Definitely. I mean,
Daily
and this
charge,
also
right?
this well exactly. I mean, this all comes back to what suits you. So if the strategy is something like very low time frames, almost day trading type strategy, that's probably not going to suit you if you've got a day job. It might be quite hard to do if you're not going to code it up and run it algorithmically. It's going to be very hard to do. So it's trying to find what works for you, and everyone's different. What you trade, I might not be able to, might not just work for might not work for me, and vice versa. So this course really goes into depth about that, and helps you sort of understand what works for you and what would work around you having a full-time job.
Cool.
Yeah.
And a follow-up on that really was kind of is I'll read it as it's written. Is
All
what
right.
you teach proven to work if followed to the letter? And I think what Albert's getting after here is,
Yeah.
is this a structure that's been followed before by the instructors, by other people?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're really going for a framework, and obviously, you know, you can't guarantee, nothing's guaranteed. But the point being, it's about consistency, really. So by using a framework and going through and actually using that, the chances are, okay, you could have a losing month, a losing year. But the point being, it's about the sort of the long-term consistency. So by following it, you can get to that point and go through that journey to having something which is repeatable and consistent. And that's really what we're trying to do at the end of the day, really. So, you know,
cool.
yeah,
There's a question here, which is something I kind of spotted as well on one of the slides on the nutritional label. Was it the nutritional label? I think it was the explanation of the nutritional label.
yeah,
Um, Why do you not measure drawdown whilst in the trade? I think there was a note there that said it was close to
yeah. I think
close.
we just use close. So that is a good. So that is something you could do. I think here we we were just looking at it from a closed trade point of view. So that is something you could do, because obviously the actual drawdown could be a lot higher. You could have an open trade drawdown going massively offside, and then it obviously comes back and actually close it out. But I think we sort of made a decision. We just wanted to show what it looks like from a kind of a closed trade point of view. For the sort of illustration purposes, I suppose. Yeah.
It can be simpler that way. And sometimes it's a more trading platforms that I've seen sort of tend to show it that way, even though I'm
That's right.
often
Yeah.
interested as well in like, okay, well, what was the worst case, like the actual worst case, right? But
I
really,
guess you also need a sort of a higher granularity then of data points. So if you've just got, because you need to then know the interbar scale. Well, I
yeah,
suppose you've got the high and the low, but you maybe want to just sort of have a
you
bit more of
do.
a view
Yeah.
of sort of what's going on. So, but yeah, we just chose the closed because I suppose you know the characteristics of it, but you're holding. Okay, it could go a bit offside during the trade, but you're going to hold it hopefully to when it's supposed to close.
Great. Um,
Good question though.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
There's a lot of questions coming through. This is great. Thank you guys
Loads of
for
questions. Amazing.
yeah.
Okay, it's
I'm
good to
doing
see
my
good,
best.
lots of interest.
Um, the systems or the strategies and systems, have they been tested through Black Swan events? Do you know?
We've just well they've run over. I mean, these are sort of some brilliant strategies which I trade some of them myself. I'm sure you probably do as well. They have worked. I mean, what we've taken really is just we've looked at really this last 10 years of data and done an out of sample test. But yeah, I mean, if you were going to do further analysis, obviously you could go through and test it over a period like 2008, for example, so that you could see how that performs, then. I think in the last 10-year period, was it 2012? There was a bit, I can't remember now. But yeah, so there is
Well,
a bit of an event
2022
in
is
there.
rough.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So there is a, if you want to call that a black swan moment, if you like, tested in that. But
Yeah. We've
um,
got COVID,
yeah,
of course, in the
of
middle of
course, yeah.
that.
So I've almost forgotten. It seems like such a long
Yeah.
time ago. So yeah, so it does include some of those, those black swan events in that time period over the last 10 years. Yeah.
Okay. There's practical questions or about the course itself and the way it's delivered. So a couple of things I've
Yes.
seen kind of come through. So do we know how frequently the course is going to be offered? Like this is the first one. Is it going to be offered again?
I hope so. I guess that I guess we're sort of trying to gauge interest. I think this has got a broad appeal, really. I mean, like I sort of said when I was presenting, those slides, it's something I wish was around, when I'd finished the level two, because it's a natural progression. How do you move forward with these techniques, really, and how do you become consistently profitable? And so I hope it's going to be really successful when I think we run it it starts next month in April. And then I guess we're just going to gauge it, aren't we? I suppose, and see
Yeah.
how it is, and then
Yeah. I mean, I think it's yeah, I think we're going to see, right? We want to see how
yeah,
what the take up is, how interested people are. If there's a lot of interest, I'm sure we'll try to work it back into the schedule, guys. So yeah, please let us know. Also on the practical side, are the lectures going to be like recorded so that people can catch up on them if they can't make it
yeah,
live? Yeah.
yeah. No, exactly. They will be. Um, so each lecture is 2 hours long. So they're quite in-depth, very comprehensive lectures. It's recorded, and then obviously there's a bit of time in between them as well. So you've got a chance to catch up. Look, you'll get the recording. And then obviously that we try to sort of build in that kind of coursework element. I know it's not school, but it's having that in. I think you're going to get the most value out of the course because you can then look at what we've taught you, and then actually try and apply it to yourself really. And that's really what it's all about. It's not just teaching a bunch of stuff you're not going to apply. The whole point is taking what we're teaching and actually applying it. So yeah, so I think you can then catch up and do the coursework. Yeah.
And the hours for the actual lectures, it's evenings, isn't it? 2 hours?
It's evenings, yeah. So I think is it six starts 6:30. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But yeah, something like around 6-ish.
Katie's come in and
Immediate.
saved the day for us. 6 to 8 p.m. Thanks, Katie.
6 to 8. There we go. Perfect.
That's what I thought, but I
Thanks.
just
Thanks,
wanted to
Katie.
be sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
just want to double check the timing. Yeah, so I think that gives people a chance to hopefully get home from work, or if they've got day jobs. And then, like we said, we're going to, they're recorded. So obviously, if someone's unable to make one of them, they can, they'll get access to that recording and they can catch up. So.
Great.
Mhm.
Is it
Lots of
sorry.
questions. Brilliant. This is what we
No, it
like.
was
Lots of
good.
interest. So it's all good.
Great. So yeah, is it confidential or does the whole class get to know your strategy? That's a good one.
Um, the strategies we're showing. We're going to introduce this different strategies. I haven't put it on that slide in the on the slides I've just presented now. But yeah, we're going to go through all of the parameters on those different strategies. Yeah,
I think what he means is
it's my own personal ones.
no, I think they're
Yeah.
talking about if you bring your own strategy
Oh
to the
yes, yes,
table,
of
is
course.
it
Yeah,
like, it's you don't have to share your strategy necessarily. This is
yeah,
about,
yeah,
you might, you're welcome to, and then I'm sure everybody can learn and maybe offer feedback on it. But no, if you're just trying to figure out your own strategy and work on it in your own time, I think that's totally
yeah.
understandable.
Yeah, and I think that's why we try to include that part six, or sorry, the sixth lecture there, the Q&A bit, which I think is something very valuable, because if you're working on a strategy that you're struggling maybe a bit with it, you can bring that up as a question, say, hey, look, this is a strategy I've got, how can I improve it? What am I doing wrong? How can I make it consistently profitable? And that's something, you can put to us experts, and we can help address that hopefully for you. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think one of the questions from before was about whether there's going to be other intakes for the course, is because there's a little
Yeah.
bit of an overlap with like the exam date, I think, on the part two course. So I think if that's the case, and I would have thought if I were going through part two, obviously there's a lot of content in part two, but it's a
Mm.
great time to sort of like do a little bit of an overlap if you have the bandwidth for it, and start to implement the things that you're learning, like the TA bits that gel with you, and then you can start to say, okay, well,
Yes.
how do I turn that into, a system that I can follow? And then because things are recorded, you can kind of catch up in slower time and maybe tune into the Q&A sort of live session as a panel anyway and get some questions out that way. So yeah, I think the even though it overlaps with like the part two course, I would have thought that you could probably schedule that around your own sort of
Your own schedule.
your
Yeah.
own
Or your
schedule,
own.
the rest of your
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be recorded, but obviously, if you get the questions into the Q&A, because that we're really trying to tailor that around the delegates on the course. So it's going to be specific to people's individual questions. So we're going to really sort of do hope try and really sort of answer those queries they've got, and try and help them out.
Another one here is just a little bit related. It is how long do you support people after the course?
That is a good question. I think hopefully we can address most of the stuff in the Q&A. I think that's probably maybe something. I don't know if that's maybe one for you to take away, Jeff. I don't know if there's going to be some sort of a chat room or something. I don't know. We haven't really sort of discussed that much, but maybe it's nice to have something, maybe like a light follow-up thing later or something, just to see how people are getting on. That might be quite interesting to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can. I would have assumed that the guys will, we'll do our best to support people within
Yeah.
whatever is a reasonable amount of time. And then maybe there's a more formal way of doing that sort of in future. But I think because it's the first time we're delivering this one, we'll see how we go. Um, I don't know the answer to this one either. I'll ask you, Tom. I don't think you will, but
Yeah.
do we know how the recordings are going to be available to people, whether they can download or if there's like a fixed amount of time where they'll be accessible?
That is a question I think probably for, I don't know if Katie's got any view on that, but
Okay, Katie said that
um,
they create a resource page and that'll,
yeah.
I'll,
So I,
I'll
I
assume
I
that'll
think this
cover
is
everything.
available for the duration of the course. Probably I would have thought. Yeah.
Great. Um,
Yeah. There we go. They're available for the duration of the course. and a
Right.
reasonable time afterwards. So they get a bit, people get time to obviously if they miss something or they want to watch it again if there's something they didn't quite get. There's time to do that. So that's good.
Okay, I'm going to read this one as is because it's good. Don't worry, it's okay. This is Chris. As a long-standing STA member and unconstrained discretionary portfolio manager, do you have any objection to a beneficial observer of knowledge for the course as opposed to an active participant? So, can you kind of
Mm.
watch along and take away with it what you will, or is it super interactive?
It's I think this one is a little bit less interactive than perhaps the previous one, which was a bit more kind of coding and so on. So I think this one, is more about us teaching different techniques, and then the whole point is having that kind of coursework piece at the end, where, but obviously can ask questions throughout it really. So I think it'll be sort of going through and then taking, fielding questions as we go along. But it's not like you've got a little bit of coursework to do here or something. It's more kind of like a lecture approach, and then the coursework piece to do. At the end of it. I think that's what you
The
meant.
That lines up well with one of the other questions. The coursework,
Yeah.
like, does it need to be done sort of in order before the next lecture's out, or
I mean, it's really sort of the idea for the coursework is more it's not for like an exam type thing. It's really sort of personal. It's for your own development. If you can do it sequentially, that's obviously better. But if you if you don't do the first one and but you watch the first and second lecture and then do them both together, that's also fine. The point being is you're going to go along and do those bits of coursework, and then when we get to that lecture 6, that's your kind of chance to hopefully have done. And we've actually left a bit of a gap, I think, between lectures 5 and lecture 6. There's a little bit more of a gap there to give time for people to catch up. And the point being is you'll have done those different assignments, and then from that you can have questions. And then the whole point is that kind of quite unique lecture 6 to kind of address all those. And review any sort of queries from that really. But I think we've thought that was kind of quite a nice way of doing it, and then people get feedback on what they've done.
cool? Um, this is more of a suggestion, I think. But it could be a cool thing to try to integrate, whether for this one it may be a bit late, but he's asking if there is going to be a way to trade it live. Like it was probably like one of the systems. Like maybe you could pick one of the systems or maybe a couple of them and sort of trade
Yeah,
it live or at least on live markets over the next couple months, maybe as the class sort of or the course goes
yeah,
on and the participants can kind of have a look at it and you can refer back and just see, okay, well, how are these actual trades going and what does it look like when these things are actually trading live? Which I think is a pretty cool idea.
yeah. I think I could probably try and do that. Actually, it wouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just to choose a few different techniques and actually trade one, and see how it's actually performed.
Yeah. Um, okay. Is there any
Good suggestion.
accreditation for completing the course?
I think on this one, I don't think we've got. I have to put that one to you, Jeff. I can't remember. I think
Okay.
it's less of an
So
exam, and yeah,
yeah, so there's not an exam with this course, right? So this is really more for the practical implementation. So there's not really an accreditation. So not in the way of like, the STA, the MSTA, for example. I think this is more for your own learning and putting into practice.
yeah. I guess I mean, the sort of I suppose before there was more of you learn all the different techniques, and the whole point was you'd be a technical analyst and you'd be writing a report in a bank or something. But obviously, kind of in MiFID two, those jobs kind of vanished, unfortunately. So the point being is it's less about um, you know doing that role, and this is now more about right. You want to take what you've learned, you want to actually build it into a trading system which you can trade, and it really take you along that kind of journey.
I think what we can offer, and Katie's helping me tune me in here, is a certificate of attendance can be
Oh
offered,
right, okay, yeah,
which can be useful for
confused.
those who are maybe going through CPD, so you can get some CPD credit. So I think we can go down that route. So that will be available.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I think we're covering most of the stuff. There were a couple that I may have missed earlier on, so I'm just having a quick scan. Um, I think there was one question. These are more maybe a little bit more technical. Can you suggest market data providers in order to
Yeah, we will.
practice
We will.
back
We
testing
will
and data
talk
stream?
about that. Yeah, we will talk. I mean, I think we touch on that in the course. But yeah, I think we sort of the previous course we went very technical, and we realised maybe we went too technical,
Yeah,
and actually data source. Are you trading? Are you using TradingView? Are you using TradeStation? Are you? These are all just things you can work out. But actually, have you got something that you can prove works, and how do you go along that journey to being consistently profitable? That's really what this course is about. So we will talk about that, and certainly for that Q&A piece, we can go through all of that. That's not a problem at all to talk about how to put it together, data sources and systems and stuff. We can definitely cover that.
great. Um, and there was a question here, which is somebody who has a highly profitable system. So congratulations.
Oh, well
And,
done.
and they're actually looking to automate and systematize the whole thing. And they're asking if there's a way or a suggestion of how to learn or somebody that you can recommend. I'll put that to you, Tom, first, and then I'll have a think if there's something I recommend on that.
What, get someone to code it for them? um,
Yeah, or a way to
yeah.
learn how to do that, or any people or experts that you could recommend that might be able to help.
I think, I mean, I suppose, if you're going to, it depends on sort of, I suppose, what the system is really. I mean, is it something that's kind of, is it like a high frequency type system that might be quite difficult to do?
Yeah.
But otherwise, you can use quite sort of, quite basic languages, like something like easy language is very easy to learn. Um, it's got all the libraries built in, so it can be quite quick to actually sort of actually learn to do it yourself. But there are people that can help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I'd probably say the same. Feel free to reach out to me directly and I'll have a think about
Yeah.
how I might be able to do that. But yeah, I think this particular course is really kind of focused on the practicality of building and developing a system for yourself, which it sounds like this person's done. Um, and sort of like that next stage is okay, let's see if we can automate the whole thing. Okay, I think we've covered off most of the questions. If I've missed anybody, please um, speak now, either in chat or on the Q&A, and we'll see what we can do. Um,
Yeah, I mean, if there are any more questions, and just feel free to reach out. I think you can probably email Katie, info at technicalanalysts.com. The usual email address, and then
yeah,
she can forward those on, and we'll get back to you if there's any other questions around the course.
yeah, fantastic. One last one that came through was, is it in person or on Zoom? So these are all delivered on Zoom and then recorded so that you can watch them at your leisure if you can't make it on the live call. So great. Well, Tom, this is great.
Yeah,
I'm really excited by what you shared here today. I think this is going to be a really good benefit to many of our members. So thank you for putting this together. Thank you for delivering this for us today. Um, the um, as a heads up for everybody, the next meeting in a month's time is back in person. So in London at One Moorgate Place. That is going to be with Robin Griffiths again. So Robin's coming back. Ron may be coming. I'm not sure if we've got him confirmed yet. But if you guys remember, we had Ron and Robin on about a year ago, and it's always great. I always love hearing the stories from Robin because he's got so many. And my takeaway from last time was, like, as in last year, was that Robin had liquidated essentially his entire portfolio except for gold. And I think that worked out pretty well for him over the last year or so, assuming that's what he's continued to do. So come along, drinks afterwards as usual and that'll be in a month's time. I think it's the 14th of April. Yeah, take advantage of the discount period for this course. So $9.95 if you book it before 25th of March, And yeah, thank you everybody for sticking around with us. And thank you for all the nice messages coming through on chat. Thank you, Tom,
Yeah, thanks a
for
lot.
helping us out. And I look forward to seeing everybody again.
We've been talking about it for years, so it's really exciting to see it,
Yes,
finally sort of come about. So I think, yeah, I think it's really going to be beneficial to a lot of people. So yeah,
I think so too. Great. Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you, everybody. And we'll see you in the next
thanks
one.
everyone.